So, Odette, what advice would you give other neurodivergent folks who are thinking about a career in user experience?
Do it. We are many. We are hidden. Many of us are hidden, but do it.
Hello, Odette. Thank you so much for joining me on BlatzChatz.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, I'm super excited that you are here as well. Thank you again. Why don't we just jump right in and get started? And I love me a good origin story. So I would love to hear how you broke into UX.
Okay, so once upon a time, when I was a little girl, I didn't know about UX until I actually started studying, which was in the early 2000s. Before that, when I actually was a little girl, I did love creativity and design, and I used to design clothes for my Barbies and interior design for the stables of my horses, that sort of stuff. So I always knew I wanted to do something creative. I was and still am super into video games. You can see behind me a little snippet of my nerdy cabinet. And so I was looking at what can I do with maybe games, what can I do with design. And after a bit of a weird detour into economics, which we don't have to talk about, I ended up into a communication and multimedia design course, which had everything, had games, had design. And so I went, that's what I'm going to do. And that's when I actually first heard about UX, because there were specific UX courses, service design. And from there, that was the beginning of this epic origin story, this epic love story with UX. So that was 2009, graduated in 2012, got my first job in UX, which was making applied games for healthcare, which was super fun. I stayed in games for a little while longer, and then I started disliking the game industry a bit. It's quite male dominated and it wasn't the nicest environment, and so I switched to product. And from that switch, got in touch with testing, because we didn't really have UX research as a role back then. It was just UX design, and you did research too. But there I got in touch with more in-depth research, A/B testing, collaboration with marketing. And from there on out, I was like, oh, this is way more interesting. And so I started diving into that more. Had a little detour in education. And then also did a master's to dive deeper into design research and development of people. And then went back into UX. And here we are still.
I love that. Even though it might kind of sound like you've taken a lot of twists and turns, well, the economic one is a real, but it sounds like you've still kind of stuck with that UX flow a little bit.
Yeah, even in education, it was the courses I taught, the research I did, it was still very much, UX. So always been there.
Yeah. So would you say you started out as a designer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I have a similar path where I was actually a visual designer and graphic designer, and I got more interested in the research than drafting or designing the solutions.
Yeah. Yes. I like thinking about the solutions, but from the perspective of what would be the best solution, which comes from research. And so I really like the part where you get to do the research, you get to listen to the users and figure out, okay, what is it that they need, and then translate that into what could be a good design solution without having to make the solution.
Yeah, I am so with you there. I don't know why. It doesn't really matter at this point, but I'm with you. I was definitely more intrigued about what went wrong and getting excited about that than going at the computer and mocking it up.
Yeah, we love the problems. We like to understand the problems and then say, okay, cool, well, that's solvable.
Right, right. Absolutely. I love that. We love the problems. That's so true. So, Odette, you've been in UX for a little bit, and I'm sure that you've talked to some people who are not in UX, maybe product partners or stakeholders or even friends or family, and they don't understand user experience. And so, what do you wish people outside of UX new about the profession? What do you wish they understood a little bit better?
I think across the 14 years that I've now been working in UX, the most common thing that you hear, and even my parents still say this, and they will listen to the podcast and then go, oh yeah, that's us. It's like, oh, you make pretty pictures. That is the, yeah, I know, I see you going, it just hurts, right? But I've been at many places, many companies, and it's the same thing over and over again. Oh, you just make these features, make it look pretty. And explaining that you're not just there to make things pretty, but to actually solve user problems or even solve the things that they don't know need solving, it's a hard thing to explain, because if someone doesn't know they have a problem because they've made workarounds or it's just the way it is, then it's up to us to make things better and smoother, to keep them in longer, to make the sales team happy. But yeah, explaining that part is hard when they've got this notion of, oh, you make pretty things.
Yeah. Why is it always our parents? Why don't they get it?
I mean, it's hard, when new iPhones keep coming out and they're just like, where did my buttons go? I think my dad, hi dad, still really loves his BlackBerry. And they don't
really.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it though. I get it. I get it. So I hear you, Odette. There's so much around the idea that we are graphic designers.
Yeah. We're not. I mean, you don't want to see me make graphics. I was okay in design, but this research was more interesting, and I ended up being way better at it than design.
Yeah. Well, I mean, visual design, creating illustrations is very different than solving problems through interface design.
Yes. Yeah. But people think because they end up seeing screens, that's what you make. They don't get all the work that's actually behind it to make it work the way it works and then look the way it looks.
Absolutely. I know product owners like that.
Yeah, I think many of us do.
Yeah, right? Just mock me up a screen so I could put it in my PowerPoint for the executives.
Yeah. Oh, we've got people that make their own designs in PowerPoint.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, and anyone can do it, right? It's just making things look pretty. Yeah.
Sigh. Woo. This is going to be a painful conversation, Odette.
We're off to a great start. I feel it.
Oh, I love it. Oh. Woo. Okay. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And I want to talk about neurodiversity because I've seen some posts, I've seen some other podcasts that you've done, and you talk about that a little bit. And I would love to know a little bit more about why that topic is important to you.
Yeah, it's a big question, one that I really like and that I get often. So I got diagnosed with autism 3 years ago, and I am now 35. So I've spent most of my life not knowing I was autistic. And about 2 or 3 months ago, got diagnosed with ADHD too. So I spent even longer part of my life not knowing that part either. And so I found out that I was autistic after I had a burnout. And I really didn't get why that happened to me. Like, why? I always work hard, I do the right thing, I make sure my stuff is done, I make sure it's perfect. And yet I ended up in the burnout. And through that, figured out that it was actually autism. But before that, so the 32 years roughly before that, where I didn't know, they were difficult because I didn't know why my brain worked so differently from others, and often felt like I either did not belong in the space that I was in or in the group that I was in. Like I always felt a little bit like an outsider, and I never got why that was the way it was because I otherwise felt normal. And so figuring out that I was autistic was like this major light bulb moment where I went, oh, well, that's why I am the way that I am. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different wiring in my brain. And I started talking a little bit with people about it that I trusted. And I felt like with the people that I didn't talk about it with, I felt even more removed because I figured out something about myself and how I worked, but I wasn't able to actually be the person that I actually am because you're expected to be this standard type of person, the standard norm, and work and think the way that everyone else does. And through therapy and figuring out the autism, it actually taught me that the way that I am is okay, and this is how I work, and it actually brings great things for me that I'm actually really happy with. Like, there are definitely days I hate being autistic, but there are more days that I love it. And basically started talking a bit about it at work at the time, and started learning about how to set things up, how to make things work. Funnily enough, the autism actually helped me get really good at research ops because of the need for structure and organization. And so because I started there and learned that it was helping me to talk about it, to actually just be myself and to trust my brain, my autistic brain, I figured out, there are so many other people out there that I know or don't know that have autism and are not talking about it or don't feel safe. And one of the things that many autistic people have is this insane sense of justice and fairness. And so I just felt annoyed that people weren't allowed to be themselves, or that they are viewed as different or weird or not sufficient. And I know that I'm good at my job, and I know that there are many other neurodivergent people that are good at their jobs, and I wanted them to also feel like they can, and that they too are good enough, and that they can be accepted. And so for me, I think talking about it on LinkedIn is partially therapy for myself, and partially, being able to show that you too can reach good things. And
Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. I love it because I know that there are others in UX or UX adjacent or whatever the profession might be that are also on the spectrum and maybe not comfortable letting others know. So I really appreciate you being very open and letting everyone, the world, know that it's okay. Just have a different point of view on some things.
And it's been really nice. I've had many people reach out to me on LinkedIn via DMs because, many people don't want to talk about it openly. But just to see that there are also so many people like me out there, which is also really nice. And I do think that UX is a field that attracts us because of the creativity, the problem solving, and such. So it's been really nice to talk to other people about it and work through things together and see what we can learn from each other and how we can make our workplaces better.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say, Odette, to someone who might be feeling like either they are on the spectrum somehow or they think they are and they haven't been diagnosed? And it sounds like you've had a little bit of feelings of, I just don't belong here. And they might have those same feelings. What would you suggest someone who might be on the spectrum and not really sure what to do or how to cope with that? What would you suggest that they do?
The best thing would be to go to a GP and talk about it, right? If you have suspicions, get a diagnosis, or at least talk to someone, because it may not be autism, but maybe it's a different neurodiversity that you want to get tested on. But I think that's the first step, because for me, it actually helps put things in perspective and validated the way I felt about myself and the way that I think and the way that I do things, in the sense of it's not weird, it's me. That's just how I work. But there are many people against diagnosis. There's a cultural stigma on getting a diagnosis. There are workplace stigmas. Some workplaces you actually have to say when you are neurodivergent, and that could create discrimination and bias. And so for those people that don't want to do that, I would say to try to learn as much as you can for yourself. There are many tools online as well that can help you sort of map your brain to help you figure out, okay, this is where I'm good at, this is where I'm not as good, and how can I cope with those challenges in the workplace?
Right. For you, you said you felt a little bit out of place. Could you tell me a little bit more about what made you feel out of place and what you did to kind of overcome those feelings?
Do we want to talk childhood trauma or like more recent?
Hey, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I hear you. It's more than one thing. That's fair. Thank you for pointing out. On Saturday, I needed to do this.
This is starting to feel a little bit like therapy, but no, I'm here for it. Let's do it. So just as a little example, when I was growing up and girls started liking girly things, I was into playing football and jumping around, catching frogs and playing in the mud and stuff like that. They're very basic, simple things, but it shows to you that you are different from what you see around you. And people judge you for it because you are a girl, so you're expected to do girly things. I played video games. No girl did that. That was for boys, and things have changed over the years, but when I was young, this was definitely very much a black and white story. And when it came to work, people enjoying lunches in those big hallways where everyone sits at the same table and everyone talks at the same time about everything, or going out for drinks every Thursday after work, stuff like that, where I felt like I don't want to. I don't have the energy. I don't even want to talk to you after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, love you between 9 to 5, and then no. And so, but all these people around me were like, yay, let's go drinking and let's do this. And it's just one of the many, many examples where you feel like, but why don't I like any of this? Why don't I want to do any of this? Why do I or force myself to do it and then go home crying thinking, what have I done to myself? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And as an extrovert, and I know that this is different, but I am one of those people like, come on, let's go, woo.
Yeah.
And I've had introverted friends be like, oh, you need to calm down.
I mean, it's good, like, but you also have to be yourself, be loud, be boisterous, and go like, yeah, let's party. And then there needs to be space for people like us to feel comfortable to say, yeah, maybe not today. If you schedule something 3 months ahead, I can mentally prepare, and then I'll be there, and I will enjoy myself, but I will have had time to prepare.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's true in just like conversations, right? This one friend of mine, she was like, you need to be quiet. You need to give me a minute to think about my answer. And I'm like, what? It's like, you do it in interviews. You embrace that awkward silence, right? When you're interviewing participants. I'm like, oh, yeah. She's like, do that with me. Shut up.
I love that one.
Okay, done. Oh, so Odette, you mentioned earlier that being autistic, it helped you with your research ops, being organized. Tell me a little bit more about how this actually helped you a lot.
So I've always had very much a need for structure and for organization. And, as well as many others in UX, that many organizations that we work at do not have much structure in place. And so whenever I worked somewhere, I think within a year or a year and a half, I would be burned out because I couldn't cope with all the chaos, all the changes, the lack of structure, the lack of documentation. And so this too, after finding out I was autistic and started learning about what that meant for me, realizing that need for structure comes from the way that my brain operates and how it doesn't operate when it's not there, I started implementing that in my work. And at that time, I didn't know it was called research ops. To me, it was just structuring and processes and making sure things work properly and everyone knows how things work, because logical. I guess that's also the autistic brain. It's just, but why isn't this here? It's logic. And so by doing that and also seeing the effects, not just on myself, but on the people on my team and the stakeholders around it, I noticed like that structure, the operations that I'm building here, it's not just for me, it's actually for the entire organization. And so that's basically how I learned that my brain is really good at building research ops, because it's an innate need of my brain to function properly.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. I also have that need to organize, get things together. Chaos is not my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Odette, I want to ask you, what do you recommend, like members of your team, what could they do to be more open to or welcoming or accommodating toward other people who are neurodivergent?
I think the biggest thing is to just have that open conversation, and it doesn't even have to be about that you are neurodivergent, especially for the people that are not comfortable saying that they are, but more so make that open space to discuss how do you prefer to work, how do you process information, when we have a meeting, what do you need, how would you like me to contact you? Like when I get a Teams call, I just stress out and I just go, nope, because I first want to know, okay, what's this about? Prepare my brain a little bit so that I can think about, okay, how am I going to solve whatever's coming up at me? And just having that conversation about these different ways of thinking and these different ways of working helps you as a team to better collaborate. And so it doesn't even have to be about, being neurodivergent.
That's a very good point. Just understanding some norms around communication is the first step, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, because just like what you just said, like you're extroverted and you're loud and you go, yeah, let's do this. I can see you do that at the start of a project, right? You go, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and let's talk to these people. And it's all from enthusiasm and it's who you are. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, I would sit there thinking, love that, good idea. And you won't hear me say anything. And my face will look cranky and annoyed. And you'd be like, gosh, why is Odette always so cranky? And then after the meeting, I go, you know what? Really good point. Let's talk about this part next week. And you'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. But having that open conversation about when you are this loud, love it, I'll get back to you next day. And then you go, cool, I can be myself, then I can be myself, and we get to collaborate the way we work best.
That is great. And think about all the, I don't want to say fights, but all the confrontations or disagreements you might have, because here I'm thinking, oh, Odette's mad at me. She doesn't like my idea. She's frowning. But you've established hey, that's just me. I'll get back to you later. And if I knew that about you, then I wouldn't have such upsetting feelings, perhaps.
Yeah. And it's very common, right? People view the world from their viewpoint, from how they work, and they expect people to all work the same. It's the same when PMs say, oh, but I am the user. And it's like, you are one, possibly 10 years ago. That doesn't mean that you speak for all of them. And it's the same for when we work with each other, just because I process information in one way, it doesn't mean that the people around me do it in the exact same way. If that's just open and discussed, and we have a lot less of this, oh, is she mad at me? Or, God, she never speaks, or stuff like that.
Yeah. I really do appreciate that, though, having that conversation, because we do tend to take a centric point of view and assume everyone should react the way we do and think the way we do. And I don't think as adults we have enough of these conversations to level set on I'm different from you in these ways. Or even if you don't know yet, just this is how I am, so I can determine, oh, that's a little different than my approach. It's good to know you are approaching it from this side and I will come from it from this side.
Yeah, but it's a very vulnerable standpoint to take, right? If I'm the one that stands up in a group of 5-6 people and I go, look, guys, when you throw stuff at me at the same time, my brain can't process the information. That sounds like I'm dumb. Many people could think oh God, she's not smart enough to keep up, right? And I know that's not the case. It's just that I want to have all the pieces and have them in front of me and take a minute to see what is the best solution, right? Well, how should we approach? How should we move on? And if I don't stand up, I'm the cranky one or the person that's complaining or comes with the changes a week later. And that's also bad. And so I kind of have to put myself in a vulnerable spot and go, no, I need this. I see and I hear what you need. Now let's see how we can combine that and work together so that we can move forward in the best way possible. But it's scary because, you are putting yourself in a place of vulnerability.
Yeah. And you say vulnerability, and I do agree. I say brave because it is the same. It really is, because you don't know how someone's going to react to you. Like you said, they have these thoughts about you. It's really brave to stand up and say, whoa, time out.
Yeah, I think for me, having a burnout helped in a way. It wasn't the funnest experience, but getting that wall smacked in your face and having to stop and go okay, I have many, many more years to work. This is not how it's working for me. and going, I can either pretend I'm someone, and try to keep up and mask my way through things and then probably do the same cycle of burnout every 1.5 years over and over again. Or I can find a workplace that accepts how I am. And if that means being vulnerable, then that shows me whether or not that workplace is good for me.
Yeah, it's so important to be yourself when you come to work, as much as you feel comfortable, right? But you want a place where you can feel comfortable being
Yeah.
yourself.
Like, why would you want to work at a place that doesn't accept who you are, or doesn't respect your values, or, yeah.
Absolutely. So, Odette, what advice would you give other neurodivergent folks who are thinking about a career in user experience?
Do it. We are many. We are hidden. Many of us are hidden, but do it. It's one of the things that I've always really enjoyed about the field is that while I need that structure in the processes and the organization, there's a lot of room for creativity and autonomy within your role to figure out like how to solve certain things. There is structure and rigidity in how you set up methods, but at the same time you can play and add gamification to things to make things more interesting. And it's such a sounds a little bit like rainbows and sunshine, this part, but it's such a nice field where you can actually use your strengths as a neurodivergent person to the benefit of your job, of your role, of your career. That it may sound sometimes large or scary or gatekeep sometimes even, but I think for us neurodivergent people, it is just a really good place to work. And like I said, there's so many of us out there. I think my entire research team is neurodivergent. I don't have a neurotypical person around me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that because how many diverse perspectives are you getting because of that?
Loads. I think, yeah, within our team, we've got ADHD, autism, dyslexia, OCD, PTSD, you name it. You've got everything. Because having a diverse team from genders, culture, neurodivergence is helping you collaborate better and come up with different solutions. Also towards being researchers and sitting with users, it allows you to see the different viewpoints or to ask questions differently because, oh, this group may work a little bit differently. And so, yeah, having all of those diverse points of views, those diverse brains, not just helps, yeah, collaborating as a team, but also make your work better.
How would you say, if at all, Odette, recruiting for research has differed when you have these different neurodivergent perspectives?
I'm not sure if there has been a clear difference for me. I think just like what I said before, that need for structure and organization and mapping out the type of users, making sure that our user profiles are correct and we're actually mapping them on people, that we're getting a proper database that shows which projects they've been participating in and when and what came out of it, and just having that whole picture clearly, I think, yeah, has been the same basically, or I've done it the same at least at the current and previous company. What I would like to do more of is to actually make sure that that diversity aspect is also part of my participant pool. Right now, because we also work with some external agencies, it's hard to recruit neurodiverse people. It's hard to recruit people with disabilities because a lot of people also don't want to write on their participant profile, yeah, I'm half blind, or yeah, I'm autistic, because again, vulnerability. They're smaller, but it's so important because we're all users. The half blind person, the autistic person, we all use the same app, or we try to, and yet we're either not included in those participant pools or maybe also again hidden in there. And so that's something that I would love to do more with, to make sure that, well, that's more represented as well, because we're a large chunk of the population.
Right. And having that lens, right? Having that perspective of neurodivergency can really modify an app or an experience. Like if you just knew that, you'd be like, whoa, okay, I did not know that this could be an issue because I don't have this either a
Yeah.
disability or this point of view or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was actually, I've been working on this new template, spoiler alert, because we've been working a lot more with trying to implement the heuristic evaluations on a more regular basis. And while I was looking at those, and they're a little bit older, and they are likely, as with many things, designed by white men. Sorry, audience. Which means that there's a very specific viewpoint that they are designed from. I've been doing research on the heuristics and on neurodiversity, neurodivergent brains to figure out, do they even match, or are there specific heuristics that we actually need to look at when we think about neurodivergent people? And so it's not done yet, but I'm working on a template of heuristics to do an evaluation for neurodivergent users.
Ooh, I am excited to see that. When's it going to?
I will show you first. I have no clue. I'm in the midst of collecting data and trying to see what it means for the current known heuristics that many of us use. And yeah, how that's going to work, I don't know yet. But yeah,
That's exciting.
it is. I find it's super interesting. You know, being neurodivergent myself, it is one of my hobbies. I love learning more and more about it, and I love talking to people that are neurodivergent and seeing how they view things, because my autism isn't the same as someone else's. And yeah, we know that even though we have a million users on an app, they're all different. And so how do we make sure that those people are also thought about when we actually do those types of evaluations? Yeah, it's very exciting, and I can't tell you exactly when it comes out.
Okay, fine. I'll wait.
Sorry. I'll keep you updated.
Okay. Well, you got me thinking, Odette. That is something really interesting because a lot of, like, we'll say personas or segments have demographic data, right? Oh, this age group, this gender, other psychographics, right? They have 2 kids. But what if you just ran the experience through these different kind of segments or personas or whatever term you want to use, which were different neurodivergent perspectives? How amazing would that be?
Yeah, that would be amazing. It's and I know your stance on personas, as I've seen you talk about that. I think I've always loved behavioral profiles more. I think there was one time I saw Zalando posted on LinkedIn about something they were doing with their behavioral profiles, which was about the way people actually shop, and it had nothing to do with my hair color or my length or my shoe size, but actually to deal with my thought patterns and my behavioral actions based off of values and stuff. While we don't have to say this is autistic Adam in a persona, we can definitely think about the way Adam thinks as a person and what that could possibly mean for how they make decisions and stuff like that. But also for personas, or however you want to call them, it's not being taken into account. And in general, in personas, also often marketing personas, they're not really looked at how people process information or how they make decisions or what scares them off, or what might trigger them badly. Yeah, that's not in there, and so then personas become a bit useless. Just nice posters on the wall that no one uses.
Ooh, amen to that. I hear you. Well, yeah, I mean, this is really fascinating to me, honestly, because just thinking about how many different aspects we talk about, behavior and goals and motivations, but even slicing that through these different approaches of the mind, right? Wow, what possibilities could we be designing for if we even just focused on more of that? It's really amazing.
Yeah, because I like buying shoes. I love shoes. I have an absolute shoe obsession. And I don't buy shoes just because I like shoes. I buy shoes because I'm a nerd, and then I can get limited edition Pokemon Converse sneakers, and so I want to get those. But I'm not one of those people that collects them and puts them on a shelf. I'm that nerd that actually wears them and then regrets it years later when they go on eBay for €1,000. But it's a completely different thought pattern already, because for me it's youth sentiment. It's like, oh, Mickey Mouse, oh, I love Yoda. It has nothing to do with the actual shoe. And so a persona of me could say loves buying shoes, but it's not actually what I'm doing. I'm
Right.
reliving my childhood, and I'm being a 12-year-old again, or because I'm autistic and I like my childhood things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that level deeper, right? That motivation behind why you're buying shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, we could go on and on about this. Really, it's fascinating to me. I love this. You've really got me thinking here today, Odette. This
Fun.
extroverted big mouth over here. Whoa, there is so much good stuff with this chat with Odette. I'm going to have to break it into 2 parts. So I'll see you at the next installment. Bye.